Всем Джей Гурудев. Всех рада приветствовать сегодня на нашей сегодняшней встрече. И сегодня у нас уже по счету 25-я Гатри Мандала. И через некоторый период, такой перерывчик у нас, мы опять с вами вместе. И такие встречи у нас проходят, конечно, регулярно, практически каждый месяц. Вот. И они всегда осуществляются при поддержке наших дорогих участниц программы Божественной Матери, в частности, Раджа-Джешвари. И сама программа Божественной Матери была основана в 1981 году для всех женщин, кто практикует ТМ. И эти встречи были созданы для того, с той целью, чтобы каждая женщина могла двигаться к эволюции, к просветлению, к созданию мира во всем мире, чтобы мы собирались здесь все вместе именно для этого. И также поддерживать и питать друг друга, наполнять любовью, гармонией, вместе медитировать и просто делиться друг другом своими опытами. Все наши матри-мандалы, они проходят в первое воскресенье месяца, каждого месяца. И сегодня у нас на связи, я вот уже увидела, из Армении есть, из Монголии, из Украины, из России, Казахстан, Молдова, Эстония, Латвия, Литва, Беларусь. Я надеюсь, что, может, если кого-то не перечислено, не обижайтесь, мы всех рады сегодня видеть, всех рады приветствовать. И, как обычно, у нас эти встречи проходят в таком формате, то есть мы даем сначала аспект знания, затем вопросы и ответы по тому, что мы услышали, затем мы наслаждаемся звуками песни, и заканчивается встреча у нас всегда 10-минутной медитацией. Также мы просим никого не записывать эти встречи. Мы сделаем это самостоятельно для тех, кто по разнице большая во времени и сегодня не смог присутствовать. Итак, тема сегодняшней нашей встречи – радость Махариши Джотиш. И я рада представить, у нас сегодня в гостях доктор Энн Кроуэлл, преподаватель техники трансцендентальной медитации с 1973 года. Много лет работала с Махариши в Мэру, в Голландии. Сейчас она является международным директором по разработке учебных программ фонда Брахмананда Сарасвати Джотиш и ведической науки Махариши. И основной целью ее это, конечно, ведическая наука и Махариши Джотиш. Ею подготовлено множество курсов и серий знаний, преподаваемых по всему миру, в том числе 3 основных онлайн-курса, предложенных уже в этом году. Популярный оратор доктор Энн Кроуэлл вдохновила 1000 студентов из более чем 60 стран своими четкими и восторженными презентациями о программе Махариши Джотиш. Доктор Кроуэлл была одним из основателей факультета открытого университета и вместе со своим мужем Раджой Крисом Кроуэллом курирует Министерство религии и культуры, администрирование программ ТМ в Кении, в Бахрейне, Вьетнаме, а также программы Махариши Джотиш и Махариши Граха Шанти Ягья по всему миру. Итак, я с радостью передаю слово нашей дорогой Энн, и мы хотим послушать сегодняшнюю тему «Радость Махариши Джотиш». Переводом сегодня у нас, переводит у нас сегодня Елена Кононенко, как всегда по традиции. Да, как обычно.
Thank you very much.
Джей Гурудев, передаю слово.
Jai Gurudev, dear Galina and Elena, thank you for your kind invitation to all the mothers of this beautiful region of the Russian-speaking countries. It's always a delight to be with you. My husband, Raja Chris, and I fondly remember many, many beautiful experiences sharing Maharshi's knowledge with you over the years. We do miss the times when we visited you in person in your countries, but also enjoy the opportunity to connect with you at a distance, all together in our cozy virtual classroom. It's a very special day for us today, too, to join this gathering of all the women of the region, sister to sister, heart to heart, I find that something magical always happens when the mothers of the world focus on the timeless Vedic wisdom of enlightenment together. Now, besides being lots of fun in our relaxed family style atmosphere, I find that some new perspective on our evolutionary path emerges. Something deep, something tender, always practical and powerful unfolds on the level of our motherly hearts, minds, and atmosphere. So let's see what nature structures for us today. First, I wanted to start with a few general points about consciousness-based prediction and the structure of the Kundali, or birth chart. And then I wanted to show you how the motherly qualities and the nourishing principle of natural law are seen in the horoscope. Just a few samples. And then we'll answer your questions. So if you excuse me for a moment here, I'll just share my screen. All right, can everybody see this first picture of Maharshi? Good. All right. We want to begin, of course, by recognizing the source of the joy of Jyotish, and that is, of course, our dear founder, Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, our world's foremost scientist of consciousness. And we thank our lucky stars that we were born at a time of his great revival of all the Vedic disciplines, including Jyotish. I think having access to this knowledge and the direct experience of the supreme level of human development is the greatest good fortune any girl could have. So we begin today's lecture with a big Jai Gurudev. Thank you to our holy tradition of masters. So on that wave of inspiration, let's start with a quick review of some basic concepts and vocabulary of Maharshi Jyotish. I think the two words that best define Maharshi Jyotish, or Maharshi Vedic astrology, as it is sometimes called, the two words are these: prediction and transformation. Maharshi Jyotish is described as a precise mathematical science of prediction and transformation, which calculates and analyzes the cycles of natural law reflected in the beautiful order and precision of the movements of the sun, moon, planets, and stars. Now, the technology of Maharshi Vedic astrology demonstrates how the laws of nature are responsible for the various experiences that we encounter along our path of progress. And when these trends in life sequentially unfold, starting with that very moment of our birth. It's said that the birth chart, or horoscope, or Kundali, is a blueprint of our life in time and space. The Sanskrit word Jyotish is translated as the best of light and refers to a supreme value of vision, something akin to a comprehensive insight or foresight that comes from the expansion of consciousness. You've probably noticed this already as you began your practice of TM. It's known as Jyotish is known as the eye of the Ved, this eye, one of the senses. And through that eye of the Ved, we see the mechanics of creation. It also enlivens the rishi value, or something they call in Vedic science as the seer, that ability to cognize. This is that highest level of the value of knower. And to understand a little bit more, I thought we'd draw from some expressions we use in English about light, this ultimate light, this supreme value of light. We say to bring something to light. Now, what does this mean? It means to reveal, to identify, to manifest. It implies the act of making something known, something to be discovered, something that was hidden from view is now able to emerge in this light. We sometimes use the expression to see the light, and this means I understand that. I realize the reality of the situation. The light goes on. And one more expression is when we throw light on something, it means it gives greater clarity, something deeper, an explanation or more profound interpretation of the person or topic under consideration. So what does the light of Jyotish identify, reveal, or interpret? The answer is the full range of life. Nothing is left out of the range of this supreme light of consciousness. On a very mundane level of everyday life, which is where we spend most of our time after all, Jyotish helps us to see beyond the present, see beyond the boundaries in front of us. It gives us a glimpse of what is yet to come. What are the possibilities? So on a very practical level, Jyotish shines light on what and when we are most likely to get support, where we'll get this support in our profession, in the area of finances or social relationships, and even our spiritual development. But the vision of Maharishi Jyotish penetrates far beyond the ordinary waking state level of existence. That's why it's a Vedic discipline. The light of pure consciousness illuminates the absolute depths of cosmic intelligence. Ultimately, it reveals the structure and function of natural law, and, this is the special part, locates our position in the stream of time, the flow of the evolution throughout the entire universe. Now, we can already imagine the immense value that comes from understanding this relationship we have with nature so completely. This infinite correlation with everyone and everything around us. This is something very dear to every woman's heart. Our whole thing is connection and relationships and putting things together, creating wholeness, creating love, let it flow. What stunning organizing power could be known and applied in every small or large situation in these fabulous, sometimes frustrating, always fulfilling little universe that we call our life, all in the direction of a brighter future. So now we know that the science and technologies of Maharishi Jyotish or Maharishi Vedic astrology offer practical knowledge of past, present, and future based or in the light of total knowledge of natural law. The holistic level of intelligence at the basis of all prediction and transformation is known as all-knowing consciousness. Everything is known from this field of consciousness. And in the language of Jyotish, it's called JyotishPresentationEng. But even if that name sounds foreign to us, this field of JyotishPresentationEng, or all-knowing consciousness, is already very familiar to us. We don't have to go very far to find it, because JyotishPresentationEng is nothing other than our own self. This is the field of all-knowing consciousness, our essential nature. The source of all the beauty and precision displayed in cosmic life is also derived from this same unified field of natural law, lively in the deepest level of human intelligence, and it's easily accessed in transcendental meditation technique and program. This is the source of all past, present, and future, all near and distant environments, all knowledge, and all organizing power. This is the unified basis of individual and cosmic life. And that is really worth knowing. Now, one thing I find to be extremely comforting and reassuring about the knowledge of Jyotish is that it states that not only is nature unified at its basis, which is pretty good news anyway, but that it's also orderly and sequential in its expression. It looks chaotic on the surface level, but essentially the movement, the flow of life is orderly and sequential. In fact, the only way a prediction about the future is possible is because of this orderly sequential function of nature's intelligence. Maharishi often used the analogy of the seed and the tree to illustrate this principle. He said that if the gardener is familiar with the whole sequence of the transformation of the seed to the sprout, to the trunk and the branches, to the flowers, to the tree, to the cycles of nature within the tree, she can predict what stage of development has taken place and what stage is yet to unfold. Same thing in our personal life. By knowing one point in time and place, one familiar with the sequential unfoldment of natural law can predict what will happen next. So just as all knowledge of the cycles of the development of the plant are present in the seed, all knowledge of our life's potential is inherent in the starting point. And this is seen from the time and place of our birth. Now I want to introduce the experts in the sequence of natural law, the custodians of the technology of Maharishi Vedic astrology, our dear Maharishi Jyotish Pandits. Maharishi Jyotish Pandits come from the traditional Vedic families of India, and they are proficient in using the mathematical formulas cognized by the ancient Vedic seers to calculate these recurring cycles of nature and to identify their effect on all areas of one's life. They're also skilled in the technologies of Maharishi Yoga and all practice the transcendental meditation technique and its advanced programs to turn on that light of Jyoti to a very bright and holistic level. One of the services of the Maharishi Jyotish program is a personal consultation with these Maharishi Jyotish Pandits by telephone to learn about trends and events that may be coming up in our near or distant future. It also provides an opportunity to gain an understanding of our personal strengths, which is wonderful, but also to know about our weaknesses, our frailties. Sometimes we're blind to those, but it's also valuable to know where we need to put extra attention to bring ourselves up to a very high, supreme level of intelligence and creativity and love. We also can ask detailed questions to assist in making the best decisions and how to manage our time most efficiently. The tool the pundits use for this analysis is the birth chart or Kundali. So we're going to summarize some of these points about the birth chart before we see it in action in terms of describing the motherly qualities and the nourishing principle of natural law. The Kundali is a snapshot of the laws of nature most lively at our birth. By knowing only a few variables, Maharishi Jyotish Pandits are able to calculate the future trajectory, that's our path, and the destination or goal of our life's journey, and capture that total knowledge of our life's potential, not just the surface value, but the birthright of every human being to live that enlightened state, to move that pure consciousness, to gain that support of nature, to live a life of bliss and happiness for ourselves and for our families. The Kundali is derived from the knowledge contained in the starting point of our grand entrance to our dear planet Earth, the time and place of birth. It turns out that natural law recognizes that time and place of birth as a vital source of all knowledge about one's identity, about one's destiny. And the birth time and place locate an individual in the map of that dynamically unfolding universe. It describes an individual's pathway through life. Contained in the starting point of our life on Earth is the blueprint of the potential directions and guidance and tendencies of our path of evolution. It is invaluable. The Vedic discipline of Maharshi Vedic astrology provides the formulas needed to decipher that blueprint. And what we're about to explore together now are the principles and constituents of our map of life. So here's an example of the Kundali. Anybody recognize this time or place? Remember, we said that the Kundali is like a snapshot of the laws of nature, lively at a particular time and space. And this, my friends, is what that looks like in terms of the position of grahas, rashis, and bhavas at this very moment. If you were to go outside and have your telescope and look up at the night sky, or the day sky even, this is what you would see. The International Maharshi Jyotish Office provided this Kundali just for our Matri Mandala meeting with their good wishes. It reflects the positions of the constituents of Jyotish for the time and place for today at 1500 Moscow. So what do all these little lines and numbers and abbreviations mean? Like every science, Maharshi Jyotish has its own vocabulary. The Kundali represents the narrative of our life and uses a few basic constituents to tell that story, to describe the details. These elements are called the constituents of Jyotish, and here are their names. The houses or the bhavas, the signs of the zodiac or the rashis, and the planets or the grahas. Each administers a wide range of material and non-material features of our individual life and our cosmic life. You'll see now that we don't think of those as two separate things. The cosmic physiology is just an extension of our own physiology. And that is a very interesting point about our status. The individual is actually cosmic in nature. In a moment, we'll see which one of these constituents are used to describe the motherly values of natural law. But before we do, let's reflect on the role of mother and her precious qualities described by Maharshi. And then we'll locate them in the structure and function of the constituents of Jyotish as displayed in the Kundali. And we thank our dear Rajvajeshri Mary for supplying us with these beautiful quotations. So here's a first quotation on the strength and nature of motherhood. The strength of motherhood lies in her being delicate, being pardonable. She only knows to excuse and extend love and love and love. So some of the qualities we'll be looking for in the Kundali are this nourishing tendency, this pardonable value is compassion and mercy, tenderness, and love, love, and love. So let's start with the bhavas, or the houses of the Kundali. These are the 12 divisions seen. See those little red lines? They divide the wholeness of the Kundali into 12 different departments. These 12 bhavas form the first layer of the structure of the Kundali. Each bhava has a name and a set of characteristics of enormous range. One of these compartments, as you see here, pertains to mother. Do you see it? It's in the left-hand side of the middle section of the Kundali. This is the fourth bhava. Now, bhava 4 is called Bandhu. Bandhu translates as relatives, our extended family. Bandhu bhava represents our home, and it has a special focus on the heart of the home, mother. So when Panditji analyzes the entire Kundali to find the knowledge referring to anything connected to our mother, our motherly qualities, maternal happiness, our relationship with our mother, our feeling of mother, he zooms in on bhava 4. So that's the first step. Bhava 4 represents mother. Now, here are some characteristics of Bhava 4. There are many, many more, but we just zoomed in on these few that pertain to our theme of motherly qualities of natural law. So we see mother, confidence, comforts. Now, comfort refers to both physical comfort, that cozy atmosphere of the home, as well as emotional comforts, our sense of inner well-being and happiness and contentment. It also includes compassion. I think these qualities match very well to Maharshi's description of the role of mother being pardonable. That means merciful, it means forgiveness, it means compassion, as we see here in the fourth bhava. And the inexhaustible ability to extend love, love, and love, which is epitomized in the very word mother. She can't help it. It is her nature. Now, you remember the expression Maharshi is so fond of using, mother is at home. Well, this is also represented in Bhava 4. Literally, mother is at home refers to the feeling of comfort, remember, physical and emotional, a sense of security, contentment, and inner peace. This is what a child feels when mother is nearby. It refers to that state of inner fulfillment that underlies the child's emotions, anchoring the child in that secure feeling that mother's at home. And it's in this environment, this atmosphere of confidence and ease that inspires the child to play more freely and creatively. Now, this is that comfort and support found in Bandhu Bhava, where mother is always at home. Now, this is just like when we transcend and we locate that home of all the laws of nature, that mother at home level of a consciousness, of reality deep within our own self. And when we come out into the field of activity away from home, that purity of inner awareness remains with us as we engage in dynamic activity, spontaneously supporting and comforting us throughout the day. I remember on the day I was initiated and I closed my eyes and had that first dip in the transcendent, I started crying. And the tears of joy were, I'm at home. I found home at last. Maybe you've had that same experience as well. So all these precious, tender values found in the domain of Bhava 4 are there, all material and spiritual values of support from home, from comforts, from confidence, and everything related to the heart and the fine feeling level is contained in the fourth bhava. In fact, physiologically, the part of the body that is connected to the fourth bhava is the heart. So when we're talking about values of the heart, we mean everything from the pumping of that muscle to these fine levels of feeling that are so much a part of the qualities of motherhood. Here's a lovely quotation from Maharshi about the role of mother that fits in nicely with the significations of our Bandhu Bhava. The mother is just there to uphold the children by radiating love. All the work that she has to do, all the work she has to do is just radiate kindness, grace, mercy, love, and happiness. Do you think we could find these qualities of kindness, grace, love, and happiness in the fourth bhava as well? Well, it turns out that bhava 4 has another name as well as Bandhu and another field of responsibility. It's actually integrated with the same. Bhava 4 is also known as Sukh Bhava. Now, the Sanskrit word Sukh is translated as happiness. This is the bhava of happiness. So to evaluate one's inner contentedness, one's bliss, one's happiness, the bhava will also look to bhava 4. It's from the fourth bhava in the context of the entire Kundalini that he'll calculate how strong or weak, how integrated or fragmented is the fine feeling level. How lively is that mother at home experience in one's awareness? There are other bhavas to consider as well, but we just wanted to start with this beautiful Sukh bhava. So these influences of natural law associated with our family, our relatives, our home, our mother, and happiness are all associated with bhava 4 in the Kundalini. Now the second constituent of Jyotish, it's called the Rashis, or solar constellations. The Rashis are correlated in the cosmic physiology with the 12 signs of the zodiac. Each Rashi has a number, as we see here written in blue ink. We see these numbers placed in each of the bhavas of the Kundalini. And they also have these beautiful Sanskrit names, as we see here. And in our courses, we teach those. The Pundit leads us in the correct pronunciation. And each Rashi has a distinct property, a set of properties. And when it's integrated or placed in the bhava, it creates a unique environment reflecting these special characteristics. So the question is, which Rashi reflects the nourishing motherly qualities of natural law? The fourth Rashi, called Kark. In English, it's called Cancer, but we'll go by the Sanskrit name, Kark. It has many qualities that one would associate with this beautiful, nurturing, comforting, maternalistic expression. Let's look at the qualities of the fourth Rashi, Kark Rashi. Here we see that the characteristics of Kark Rashi include this motherly value and softness. The Rashi Kark represents the mind, which includes all level of mental activity, including the fine feeling level. Now, Kark Rashi also reflects the protective aspect of natural law. It's a gentle and strong quality of mothers everywhere. And Kark Rashi is subtle in nature. This matches Maharshi's expression, the strength of motherhood lies in her being delicate. It is that inner power that comes from the subtlest level of reality that protects and regenerates a mother's ability to love, love, and love. Now we come to the last constituent of the Jyotish that we'll look at today, the grahas. There are 9 grahas, roughly translated as planets, but they are much more than simply balls hanging in space. The grahas are part of the administration of natural law that governs the entire universe, and that includes us. They're understood as the forces of nature, which influence our progress in all areas of life, and like the Rashis and the Bhavas, contain many, many values of creative intelligence, each governing specific material and non-material aspects of individual and cosmic life. Which graha is associated with the motherly tendency of gentle compassion and care? The graha Chandra, which is associated with the moon, is the graha that most perfectly reflects these beautiful qualities of a mother. Here is a list of Chandra's characteristics. Here we see some of the cosmic values of mother governed by Chandra. Chandra is the mother of the grahas and the queen, and represents that royal status that a mother holds in her family and all of society. Chandra rules the mind and emotions. Now, Panditji says that a person with a strong Chandra in the Kundalini usually exhibits great imagination and creativity. And this is, of course, the very essence of motherhood, even on the cosmic level. The mind is also an integrating center of the individual. And this is important in terms of the mother values, because connecting the physical, mental, and emotional activities with the level of pure consciousness is a lot like the work that a mother does every day with her family. Maharishi said that a successful mother is that center of integration in the whole family and in all of society. Mother has to be the center of all the diversified opinions in the family, and this is the function of the mind as well, unifying the diverse impulses of the diversity of life into one wholeness and integrating it on the level of transcendental consciousness. And finally, we see this principle of nourishment established by Chandra, the great mother of the Kundalini. Isn't this fun? There is another set of constituents called nakshatras. They are the distant lunar constellations, 27 in number. They're not seen directly in the Kundalini, but they have a powerful influence in every aspect of the birth chart. And of course, that means our lives. But here's one nakshatra that is clearly associated with the nourishing impulse of natural law. Its name is Pushami, sometimes simply called Pusha. Now, Panditji described this in our courses as a profoundly beneficial quality as that of a cosmic mother. It's a great benefic, caring for the peace and progress of collective consciousness, not just individual consciousness. So this is an ultimate value of nourishment, that drive of strengthening the entire world family, nourishing it from the level of consciousness. And that's what we do best, right? So these are just a few examples of how the nourishing value of natural law is reflected in the Kundalini. In actuality, every bhava, rashi, every graha, every nakshatra, and every relationship among them contributes something to this most fundamental evolutionary flow of motherhood. These are holistic, not just highly, but wholly holistic qualities of consciousness. They're enlivened within every constituent of Jyotish and every particle in the universe. Now, before we end, I want to remind you of something significant. There is a principle in Maharishi Jyotish and throughout all of Vedic science, which states that nothing exists in isolation. So when the Maharishi Jyotish Pandit analyzes any topic or answers any question or concern we bring to him, he must do a comprehensive analysis of every component of the Kundalini before he makes a prediction or a prescription for transformation. But I just wanted to give you a taste of how each category of constituents expresses the specific and total value of creative intelligence in every area of life. And as we learned today, it's a great joy to find these connections of the individual with the cosmos as we begin to recognize ourselves in every facet of our inner and outer universe. Jyotish gives us the vocabulary to make those descriptions in a very simple way. So before we take your questions, let's close with a quotation from Maharishi. About Maharishi Jyotish, he said, "It's the science and technology of consciousness and commands authority over the whole range of the ever-expanding universe. Its contribution is enlightenment, self-sufficiency, invincibility, and all possibilities in the life of any individual and any nation." So as mothers of the world, we can benefit greatly from all of Maharishi's technologies of consciousness, including Maharishi Jyotish and especially Maharishi Yoga, TM and TM cities, and that extra value, practicing it in a group or in synchronized online programs. Every day, we begin with a deep dive into our cosmic self and come out sparkling with the light of life, shining with that translucent wholeness, radiating sparkling creative intelligence, and with every fiber of our individuality reverberating with infinite universal love, we have the power to nourish the hearts and souls of our family, nation, and world. This is the beautiful Dharma of every woman. Thank you very much. Jai Gurudev. Now let's pause for any questions you might have.
Jai Gurudev. Да, да, я сейчас буду смотреть, и кто захочет, там. Да, Раиса, пожалуйста. Да, можно воспользоваться чатом. Раиса, вы можете включить звук, я вам, пожалуйста. Раиса, вот, попробуйте сами включить теперь. Я Раиса подняла руку, но да, похоже, что ошибка, наверное.
Thank you.
Так, пожалуйста, задавайте свои вопросы. Вы можете поднимать руку, я вам включу микрофон, либо в чате, кому как удобно. Может быть, есть какие-то вопросы. После такого прекрасного изложения, вот какой-то капельки, частички той огромного знания, которое мы сейчас вот получили, вот, и такой питающей роли, вот именно знака через знак зодиака, да, через рак, как вот мы получили вот такую целостную картину, как бы вот какого-то небольшого аспекта, соприкоснуться с теми качествами, которые вот уже заложены у нас в природе, и мы можем это, просто оно проявляется вот в этой карте нашей. И вот, пожалуйста, у кого есть вопросики, может быть, кто-то хочет вообще вопросы по Джотишу позадавать, пожалуйста, не стесняйтесь, делайте это в чате, либо руку поднимайте, да, будем рады. Да, Ирина, пожалуйста. Да.
Jai Gurudev. Thank you very much.
Is there a translation of the question? I'm sorry.
Dear Anna, I can talk in English. Can you hear me? Because
Yes,
I'm outside. I'm not at home. I hope everyone can
Yes,
hear properly.
Yes, thank you.
Jai Gurudev, thank you very much for your very nice presentation of Jyotish. I just want to ask about the fourth house, because I understood this is very important power in the Janma Kundali. And for example, I have 4 planets there in the fourth house. How will be the comprehensive result of this influence? How does it mean that it will be different influence from my mother, for example, because I have really not easy relationship with my mother. I love her very much, but along my life, I felt different period of our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. You've asked many beautiful points. First of all, to analyze any of the Babas or any aspect of the Kundali, only a Maharshi Jyotish is qualified to do that. But we can describe some principles that you bring up here. The fact that you have 4 grahas in any house, and particularly, as you say, this very important 4th house, which is also right in the Brahmastan of the Kundali. These 4 bhavas in the center have a special role and a special name. They're called Kendra. And it means that there is a lot of consciousness, attention, there's a lot of dynamism, there's a lot of influence in that house. But you see, no one bhava is isolated from the other bhavas. They're all connected because they each have relationships with other houses, and they're constantly communicating with each other within the chart. Now, sometimes those particular combinations are restricting the communication. And other times they are clear and allow a very smooth flow and even enhance the communication system. So it's like a network. Sometimes you get clear reception and other times it's a little bit fragmented. Now, what is it that is connected to ultimately is consciousness. So what is causing the lack of infinite correlation, perhaps, among the constituents of Jyotish or among the constituents of our life that they reflect? It's some mistaken intellect, some stress in the physiology, some impurity in that connection to the field of consciousness. Now, how do we deal with that? Well, it turns out we're experts in this field. We know how to unclog those disruptions to that smooth flow. You always love your mother, and your mother always loves you. But sometimes when there is some lack of coordination in your mind or your body, you're tired, you'll have a conversation and you'll misinterpret what each other is saying. But that's just on the surface. That connection to your mother is always there. What the Kundalini describes is what's on the surface, but also what is the potential there. What can we do to eliminate all these obstructions to wholeness? And that's a good description of every problem we have in life. How can we get back to this fullness of life that makes everything work, even differences, no matter how large they are, can be unified when that light of consciousness is shining brightly. So the best thing you can do is to be regular on your program and encourage your mother to get rest in whatever way she does too. And always remember intellectually, this is an enlightenment of the intellect, that you are always together. You are always one.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I'm thinking of my mother right now.
Yes, the connection is in my heart for sure.
Yeah.
We are living in different cities. It's more than 1,000 kilometers between us, but I feel my mother connection, deep connection, and now I appreciate her presence in my life. She is alive. I'm very happy, more and more.
Very good. And that's your wisdom. That's your Vedic wisdom.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yes. What I'm saying is, for any problem that we have, it will be there in your chart. And by knowing what the problem is, it helps us to eliminate it. And that takes place on the level of decisions that we make in the future, increases our tolerance with understanding, we shed light on the situation. So we can help transform it intellectually and emotionally. But the most important thing is to apply technologies of consciousness to the problem, because that solves all of these situations. All the complications become very simple when we draw back to the source of consciousness, which is, in a way, the source of problems and the source of solutions is in the same place. There are no problems on the level of consciousness because they're all solved there. It's when we come out into activity and there's a little distortion in our physiology because we overdid it sometime, we created some stress in our system. But when that goes, and it will go, then everything flows. And that means we have the right idea at the right time. We listen to our environment and we show up at the right place in the right situation. We apply the right tools of our intelligence, of our love, of our support, and we solve problems not only for ourselves, but for everyone in our environment. And we can even solve the whole problems of the world through our group practice. So we are invincible. We have invincible tools, and Jyotish helps us use those tools the right time and the right place.
Thank you very much, Jai Gurudev.
And say hi to your mother for us.
Yeah, that's very great joy for me. Thank you.
Other questions?
Да, у нас есть вопросы в чате. Вот первый из них. Скажите, пожалуйста, насчет яги предкам.
Yes, there's Maharshi Jyotish program. I'll just go to my next slide, actually. This is the address of the Maharshi Jyotish Program International. There's a website, and you can go and learn more about Jyotish. It costs nothing. It's a whole educational program there, and it tells you about the different kinds of yagyas and programs and how to get a Jyotish appointment, or even just to learn more about Jyotish. There is a program for the departed. It's called a Petri Yagya, and we, as the children or the family members, the closest family member of that person, we can request a yagya on their behalf. And this creates a very nourishing value. I've done it for my parents. We did it at the time of their passing, and we try to do it every year. There's a certain time of year in which this ceremony is performed at a very auspicious time. It's in September, but also you can do it on their anniversary or on their birthday. So it's a very soothing yagya. I want to mention too that we have a beginner's course on Maharshi Jyotish. It's called Maharshi Vedic Astrology at a Glance. And the good news is that it's translated into Russian, also Spanish, German, and English. And it is available online. You can take it anytime. It's not starting soon. It's already posted, and you can watch it anytime at your convenience. The cost for Russian-speaking countries is 27 euros. So it's as reasonable as they could, pricing-wise. And you can go to the Meru course office website, merucourses.org, I guess it is. And there's an application in Russian as well. Yes, next question.
Какие материнские качества проявляются через экзальтированную шукру в 4-м доме?
Ooh, it sounds beautiful. You know, when we were talking about grahas that are connected to the motherly qualities, Shukra is also one that's very strongly connected with women in general. Also, it's the greatest of all the benefic grahas. So when we talk about, from Maharshi's quotation, that tendency to love, Shukra is also a wonderful, great graha of love and wholeness. I think of love as wholeness, as connecting all the differences into one heart. It also is beauty, and in this highest level, its highest dignity, they call it, this is ucha, position of exaltation that you describe. Shukra is not just the loving, emotional, soft, tender value. She's also the great exponent of knowledge. They say Shukra is the graha, is capable of teaching even the Rakshasas Vedic knowledge. That means Shukra, in that position of great exaltation, is the best teacher in the whole universe. We usually think of Guru as being the teacher, which of course that great benefic is also the great graha of knowledge. But the fact that Shukra can teach wholeness to fragmented, disintegrated value of a mind as depicted by the Rakshasa tendency, that means that she really is a good teacher. And what is a good teacher? A mother. Mother is our first teacher. And so Shukra has that beautiful tendency to put all the parts together and create this supreme knowledge and the supreme dignity of life, especially in the feminine aspect of life. She is our great, great Graha. Again, what that means in your chart, you could not say in isolation. Even the pundit wouldn't say just off the top of his head. You have to look at everything together, and again, one wholeness. But I think you should be very happy with this great, great Graha in its highest exaltation. Thank you. I don't know how your time is. I don't mean to take up the most important value of our Matri Mandala, which is to do our group practice together, because that's where we do unite with our mother and with the mother of the cosmos in that field of pure bliss, of pure happiness, of pure love, love, love. So you let me know how our... I wanted to show you a couple of things. Oh, if you're more advanced...
Мы успеем, да. У нас еще тут есть вопросы. Как влияет Раху на...
Okay. I want to tell you, if you speak English, if you're fluent in English, we do have a more advanced courses on Maharshi Jyotish. I'm about to launch a new course. It is Maharshi Jyotish Foundations, Part 1, and that will be held through MIU's distance education program. They will have a big webinar open to everyone. It will be, I think, 1 o'clock Central Eastern European time, January 23rd. That's not translated, but if you speak English, then you could take that. If you don't know anything about Jyotish, start with that Maharshi Vedic Astrology at a Glance. That's also in English and Russian. But I just wanted to tell you that. Okay, go ahead.
Как влияет Раху на 4-й дом?
What was that? How what influences 4th? Oh, Rahu. Okay, you ladies know a little bit about Jyotish, don't you? Rahu is one of the grahas, and Rahu has a bad reputation because Rahu is just the opposite of the gentleness, the tenderness that we've been talking about today in terms of Chandra or Shukra. Rahu is famous for roughness. Now, on the other hand, Rahu is very instrumental in our evolution because Rahu is the graha of transformation. And relating to Jyotish, it's not just prediction that Maharshi revived. He revived the ability to take that prediction and transform it into something brighter, something better, to make an enlightened future. Because he says, what's the point of knowing you're going to have a headache in 6 months? You start to have a headache now. So Rahu, very important in terms of this value of taking something and changing it into something else. Now, what direction that transformation takes depends on every other influence in the Kundali, but also we are not victims to our Kundali, ladies. We are masters of our own destiny. When we see that there's a possibility of a Rahu transformation in a negative direction, we step in there with our Vedic technologies and make sure that we're in charge. We're having greater waves of bliss to counteract that negativity and transform it into a reign of sattva. And that's what a mother does constantly. The child is misbehaving over here, another one over here, and now they're getting together and misbehaving. She averts that danger before it arises. She dismantles that mischief by introducing some puzzle or some new toy, or now we're going to bake cookies together. She channels that energy that was going to be incoherent and disrupt the entire household and makes it into a happy, productive playtime that is the delight of everyone. So that's what we do when we see any influence in the chart that tends to cause some interruption in the flow of bliss. Because we don't have time for that, do we? We're mothers. We have to move ahead. And that means moving in our environment ahead as well. They say that prediction is anticipation of what is yet to come. This is a perfect description of a mother. She's constantly one step ahead of her children. And how is that? She seems like a god that she would know what's coming next, because she knows that if the child doesn't get a nap, she's going to be cranky. Therefore, she sets up nap time before the child has a meltdown. She's not a goddess. She just knows the sequence of natural law expressed in a cranky child. This is what Jyotish does. It gives us knowledge of the sequence of the timing and the occurrence, the quality of possibilities, so that in advance we can dilute them or we can promote them, take advantage of them, ride that wave of something of a very beautiful and good value in life. That's us. By the way, Rahu has a value of material comfort. So if you have Rahu in an area, an arena that needs some material comfort, he can be your friend. So don't underestimate the power of any level of Rahu in your chart too. All the grahas are there to support your evolution. They are our best friends. In fact, they are an extension of ourself. Any other questions? I want to show you something. It's fun. Something that Jyotish does is that it teaches us to see patterns of nature all around us. And these understanding of the grahas and what they really mean and their tendencies helps us identify, gives us a vocabulary for describing these tendencies. Now, the last time I was in Kiev, we were giving a course there. I went to the hotel near the soccer stadium. I think you might know that. It's not too far from the TM Center. And there's a plaza. And as soon as I arrived in my room, I looked out the window on the 9th floor and saw this. What does that look like to you? That's a kundali. It could not be a better depiction of a kundali. This is not Photoshopped. This is an actual photo of a kundali that I did not notice when I was on the ground level. I had to go to an expanded level to a higher view before I recognized the pattern of the kundali right there in the middle of Kiev. So this is a sort of an interesting parallel to what Jyotish does. It enlivens in us this sense of interconnectivity. And so when things are going a certain direction, we look to find those connections. How can we nourish them? How can we smooth out any disconnection? And how can we avoid it before it happens? Learn those patterns, work with those patterns. This is called organizing power. But I always show this picture of this kundali in Kiev to illustrate that patterns of nature are everywhere. I'm sorry, you had a question?
Есть вопрос. Вот неизвестна дата рождения. Ну, при рождении ее не записали. Есть ли такое решение для таких людей, вот, чтобы создать карту Jyotish?
Yes, Maharishi Jyotish has a service. It's called rectification. And when you go to get your Jyotish done and you don't know your birth time, I bet you know the day, and I bet you know what time of the day, approximately. Your mother will remember it was night or it was morning, or maybe an aunt was there with her, or someone in the family will remember, to narrow it down a little bit. And then from there is a system in which they ask you about 40 questions to sort of retrofit your Kundalini. So that process can be done based on the timing and events of significant things in your life. Like, for instance, when did you give birth to your children? When were you married? When did you graduate from university? When did you have a surgery? When did you travel abroad? All these things are indicated in the chart. And so they will use this to narrow it down, and they can come up with a fairly precise rectification of your birth time. It's a lot of work, though. Are we okay with the time? I don't mean to go over. But it's hard not to talk about the joy of Maharishi Jyotish, right?
Да, поэтому у нас еще многие есть люди, кто уже знаком как бы с Джотишем, есть кто вообще еще не знаком с ним. Вот, или так примерно. Поэтому и вопросы соответственно. Вот. И еще такой вопрос по поводу ректификации. И если, говорит, это, то есть даже если мы сделали ректификацию, уточнение времени, то вот эти данные, которые появляются в карте, они точные или тоже все равно они какие-то приблизительные? Это тоже вопрос от того же человека.
No, rectification is pretty good. I had mine rectified, and I had my mother's rectified. And the way the Jyotishi confirms that it's rectified is that he looks at something called the dasha system, and he aligns everything like that. And when he makes a prediction, and he predicts that at a certain time you'll sell your house, for instance, and then you find that you did sell your house, and it was that day or that week or that time period, then you realize the rectification was correct. If, on the other hand, you find that you sold that house a year later, that means you need to tweak it a little bit more. But this is something that you work with the Jyotish during your consultation. So I hope that some of you who are beginners will join us at this Maharishi Vedic Astrology at a Glance course in Russian. And I purposely asked that it be translated. They gave me 3 choices for languages, and I chose Russian right away. And we had, I think, 36 course participants when I taught it last month from Russian-speaking countries. So I hope that more of you will take advantage of it. We cover many things about the constituents, including the dasha system and the lordships. And the people who knew a little bit about Jyotish enjoyed it anyway, because we took a new angle on it, and that is Maharishi's Vedic science. It also includes some lectures by Maharishi on related topics, free will, the effect of the environment, our cosmic potential, also karma, action and reaction. All these things are a part of the science of Jyotish and are also, I think, incredibly important for our understanding for skill and action in every area of our life. Even if we don't get a Jyotish consultation, even if we don't pursue the study of Jyotish, we need to know that we are part, not just a part, that we are the universe. And that helps us to understand every action that comes to us as a reaction of something that we created. And we have the power to rewrite that story of our destiny. And we have the tools through our purification process, through Ayurveda, through our structuring process of Stapajaveda, and through our Maharishi Yoga TM and TM City program, especially our group practice, which I believe we are about to start. So thank you very much. It's always a joy to be with you. I feel I have some karma with the Russian-speaking countries, and it's always been just absolutely delightful. So thank you again for inviting me. Take care, Dev.
Да, спасибо большое, дорогая Энн. Такой прекрасный сегодня и ответы на вопросы. Люди остались довольны, они написали слова благодарности в чате. большой благодарности для нашей дорогой Н. И также хотим поблагодарить и дорогую нашу Лену, которая так прекрасно перевела, потому что терминология, конечно, джотиш, особенно когда не особо знаком, тяжело вот перевести, где-то можно ошибки допустить. Но я думаю, всем все стало понятно. И еще хочу поблагодарить Н от имени Раджаджешвари. Она, к сожалению, не смогла быть с нами до конца. Вот, а вот есть Раджаджешвари. Я с радостью могу передать слово для нее. Она может звук включить? Угу.
We want to thank Anne very much for this talk that she designed especially for you. We learned so much from it in such a well-organized and eloquent way. And I think now that you have heard this talk, many, many, many more deserve to hear this talk because it applies to ladies from around the world. But also you all asked beautiful questions that brought out so much knowledge. So it was a really historic gathering today. And we noticed that there are a few less participants than usual today. We skipped our Matrimandal in October. So we hope that we'll build up our number of ladies participating again, because it's just so much knowledge comes out in these, so much knowledge that's directly relevant to our own lives. So thank you very much, Anne.
Да, огромное спасибо от всех нас. И я думаю, это будет думаю, еще организуем какую-нибудь такую из этих матримандал, допустим, на тему ведического календаря, там более подробно о яге что-нибудь рассказать, потому что людям эти темы очень интересны, и мы видим, что интересуются. Вот. И сейчас, думаю, мы регулярно будем проводить эти матримандалы, перерывы делать не будем, и у нас будет все больше и больше участниц. Вот. Очень большая благодарность за все. За ту частичку тепла и ту частичку знания, которую мы получили, но это такое окно в большое знание. Вот. Спасибо большое. И сейчас я предлагаю всем насладиться песней. Это будет гимн планетам, который был сочинен на русскоязычном курсе Джотиша, еще когда в ведическом университете Махариши, который был в Евпатории, во Львове. Его проводил Дубровский, Ричард Дубровский. И сейчас я предлагаю вашему вниманию послушать этот гимн планетам. Сейчас, секундочку, тут технические моменты немножко. Да, сейчас.
Сурья Шаурья Матхендуру Чападавим Сан Мангалам Мангала Садбудхим Чабудхо Гуруш Чагурутам Шукрах Сукхам Шамшаних Рахур Бахур Балам Кароту Сататам Кетух Кулас Йонатим Нитьям Притикара Бхаванту Мамате Сарвену Кулаграха Padavim Sammangalam Mangala Sadbudhim Chabudko Guruscha Gurutam Shukra Sukham Shamshani Rahur Bahur Balam Karotu Satatam Ketu Kulasyonatim Nityam Pritikara Bhavantu Mamate Sarvenu Kulagraha Shaurya Madhendurucha Padavim Sammangalam Mangala Sadbudhim Chabudko Guruscha Gurutam Shukra Sukham Shamshani Rahur Bahur Balam Karotu Satatam Ketu Kulasyonatim Nityam Pritikara Bhavantu Mamate Sarvenu Kulagraha Surya Shaurya Madhendurucha Padavim Sanmangalam Mangala Sadbudhim Chabudho Guruscha Gurutam Shukra Sukham Shamshanih Rahur Bahur Balam Karotu Satatam Ketu Kulasyonatim Nityam Pritikara Bhavantu Mamate Sarvenu Kulagraha
Вот. И вот такая вот. Это гимн, да, на санскрите. Сам гимн древний, а вот мелодия была сочинена именно вот на этом курсе. Вот. Я сейчас предлагаю в завершении нашей встречи всем дружно вместе помедитировать минут 10. Давайте сядем удобно и закроем глаза. И примерно через полминуты начнем думать мантру. Очень легко и удобно. Джей Гурудев. Перестаем думать мантру, но не открываем глаза еще несколько минут. Джей Гурудев. Еще раз хочу всех поблагодарить за то, что нашли время присоединиться к этой встрече и познать что-нибудь новое. Еще раз поблагодарить дорогую Энн, дорогую Леночку за тот перевод прекрасный. Вот. И много-много радости вам всем, чтобы ваша жизнь процветала в радости, в любви, в росте вот этих материнских качеств, чтобы этот 4-й дом у вас работал на все 100%. Всем Джей Гурудев, до следующей матриманджалы в декабре. Джей Гурудев.
Jai Gurudev.